Council be in session. We have Mr. Holden and Mr. Ridley Thomas. 3 members present, need 7 for a quorum. could we have some attention in the council chamber? We have some presentations. First, let me say that this will be a meeting of the City Council of the City of Los Angeles on the 22nd day. I think it's the 22nd. I don't get my 22nd day of April 1998. There are 15 council districts in the city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phone. So, Mr. Holden, we'll ask you to make a presentation. Yeah, one left over from last night.
Mr. President, members, honor has been bestowed upon the City of Los Angeles by the way of the Los Angeles Times, receiving two prestigious awards known as Pulitzer Prize winners. And I'm going to ask Mr. Mark Ridley Thomas, who's also held a reception for the two recipients, the Times staff, and Mr. Clarence Williams, to join me here at the podium. Mr. President, members, we are all very pleased to read in the newspapers that the LA Times, once again, in recent years, received high honor and praise. The highest honor is the Pulitzer Prize winning staff of the Los Angeles Times. And I'm going to present this first, and then we're going to take the single person last. Whereas the staff of the Los Angeles Times is deserving of the highest commendation from the Los Angeles City Council and the mayor, congratulations for being chosen as the Pulitzer Prize winner for 1998. Whereas the story of the botched, I'm glad it was, bank robbery unfold live on television and in a display of terrifying urban violence that shocked the nation and perhaps the world. Whereas with tremendous collective efforts from reporters, editors, graphic designers, artists, and photographers from both the Metro and the Valley staff, the team was able to successfully and skillfully cover the North Hollywood shootout. And whereas the staff members risked their lives, their own safety, to get thorough, timely, and accurate coverage of the scene in North Hollywood. The display of unity from all departments at the Los Angeles Times, from the reporters at the scene to the press room, was both heroic and extraordinary. Now therefore be it resolved by the adoption of the resolution, Mr. President, members, the City Council, along with the mayor, honors the entire staff of the Los Angeles Times for their outstanding achievement in journalism and celebrate their Pulitzer Prize winning team efforts in reporting. I want to say, Mr. President, that I was told off the record that there are so many reporters and so many staff people that
there's nothing off the record here, Mr. Holden.
Oh, on the record, Mr. President. I just want to report additional information that there were so many staff people working day and night around the clock that made this all possible. They could not name all of them, but they did attempt to identify some, and that was 30. So we have with us to receive this award Mr. Frank Del Amo, assistant editor from the Los Angeles Times. So we'll just present it to him on behalf of the entire newspaper. If you want to bring the others around you, that'll be fine.
Councilman Holden, thank you very much on our behalf. Just here representing the publisher of the newspaper, Mark Willis, who could not be here this morning, but to thank you very much for this honor, and especially on behalf of our Valley staff, which did most of the work on the initial story of the North Hollywood Bank shootout. We're very proud of the work we did, and it's nice to be acknowledged by you on behalf of the citizens of this great city. Thank you very much.
Rudy Sawarnich is not here, but we're going to see Would the other staff people who were so honored please stand and be acknowledged? And we'll take a picture. We have with them, Mr. President, we have, we already mentioned Frank Del Amo. We have Robin Goddard and Calvin Hom and Jocelyn Stewart and Daryl Strickland and Gennaro Molina. All right, so they can stand and be acknowledged as well. Mr. President, this is indeed another great honor. Here's an individual who participated in a program known as Minority Editorial Training Programs that was established by the Los Angeles Times. It's a 2-year program. And what it really says is that if you're given an opportunity to enter into a program, you can be successful and enter into life. And you can make a significant contribution to our society, and certainly to the media field. This individual, however, was selected to do an outstanding story, and I was so pleased to hear the publisher, Mr. Mark Willis, just the other day at the Project Restore dinner, when he said that I was not going to emphasize the typical, or what is believed to be the stereotype family using drugs in our community, or drug addicts, or those who have been addicted. He says that I wanted to do something different. And so we selected this family, which is unique from that which we suspect to be minorities, both African American and or Hispanic, and just go after a family like at random. And I was very, very pleased to hear him say that. The fact that he's turning the image around, as it's thought of that only certain communities, certain groups of people who were really afflicted with drugs. And so participating in that program was this fine man who came out of a minority training program, Mr. Clarence Williams. I'll ask him to come forward. And Mark Ridley Thomas is going to join me over here. I never stood next to a Pulitzer Prize winner before in my life. And this is really something very, very special for me, as it is for the city and certainly for you and your family. Whereas Mr. Clarence J. Williams III, deserving of the highest commendation from the Los Angeles City Council for his achievements in the field of photography. Did the Times ever win such an award in photography before?
1954.
Oh, 1954. That's a long time ago. It's about time, and we're glad you're on the job. Whereas he was born in January 22nd, 1967. You were very young, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He studied at Temple University in Philadelphia, where he received his degree in mass communications in 1992. Whereas he went on to work in photography for the Philadelphia Tribune, the New York Daily Record, and the Times community newspaper in Reston, Virginia. In 1994, he began at the Los Angeles Times as a staff photographer through the Minority Editorial Training Program, and it's paying off. A program aimed at preparing talented African Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, and Native Americans for careers as daily newspapers, whereas he has since won numerous awards in his field, such as first place in the National Press Photographers Association Monthly Clip Contest, first place in the National Press Photographers Association Pictures of the Year Contest, first place as recipient of the National Headliner Award, and the Robert F. Kennedy Award for Domestic Photojournalism, whereas he is to be commended for receiving the prestigious 1998 Pulitzer Prize Award for feature photography for his powerful images depicting children of addict parents. Now therefore be resolved by the adoption of this resolution, the Mayor of the City Council of Los Angeles honors Clarence J. Williams III for his outstanding achievements in photography and journalism, and wish him continued success in the years to come, and I'm sure you'll have much to be successful at.
Mr. Alarcon, first.
Just two quick things. First of all, I have to thank my boss, Larry Armstrong, who has been very supportive, and I wish he would just stand up. Yeah. And the second thing is that I just look forward to continuing being a servant of our city here. Thank you very much.
Mr. Alarcon?
Mr. Holden was talking about the work that the LA Times did in the shootout in my district and Councilmember Wax's district. But I wanted to commend and thank the LA Times for the coverage after, showing how the community recovered. Because equally important as showing the news of that day, we need to express that communities do recover from things like that, and they do work hard and pull together and unify sometimes after a tragic event like that. So I wanted to thank the Times for covering the stories of the community after the earthquake, a year after the incident. So thank you very much.
Well, let's call the roll and officially open this meeting.
Alarcon, Alatorre, Burnson, Chick, Fuhrer, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Ridley, Thomas, Savornis, Wax, Walters, Ferraro. 14 council members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, the first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Ms. Miskowski moves and Mr. Savornich seconds. There's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
If there are no objections, unanimous vote. We have some other presentations on Wednesday. Ms. Goldberg and then Ms. Galanter.
Who's next speaker? Who's next speaker?
Want to join me? Whoever's coming up. Mr. President and members of the council, Los Angeles, as you know, has gone on record repeatedly in support of the human rights of all peoples around the world. And I think all of us know that in this particular month, on April 24th, we commemorate the genocide of the Armenian people, in which, depending on which estimates you use, 1.5 million Armenians between 1915 and 1923 were systematically killed, murdered by the Turkish government of that time. This is the 83rd commemoration of those events, and by your signatures on a resolution, you have joined with this community, the Armenian community of really not just Los Angeles County, but really of the world, in saying that the best way to make sure that tragedies like this do not repeat themselves is for everyone to know about them, because those who do not know their history are doomed to have it repeated. And as a result, we have a commemoration certificate signed by all of my colleagues, and I'd like to ask a genocide survivor, Kurkan Kanjian, to join me, as well as I'd like to present the members of the Armenian National Committee. If they are here, would they stand up so we can recognize you? And of course, I'd like to also ask Reverend Vaskin Atmajian to join me as well. Kurkan Kanjian is a survivor of that genocide, and all I can say is on behalf of the President of the Council and the entire Council, we want to join in commemorating that tragedy, the tragedy of your family and all the other families that were involved, and to say that the City of Los Angeles is committed that these incidents will not be forgotten and will not be repeated. We'll also go back and take some pictures.
Okay. Mr. President, honorable members of Los Angeles City Council, good morning. 3 days ago, it was the 3rd anniversary of the Oklahoma bombing. With deep sorrow and sympathy, we remember those 168 innocent victims who lost their lives. On April 24th, we commemorate the century's first genocide, the Armenian genocide, in which 1.5 million innocent Armenian lives were lost. 83 years have passed since the massacre. The Turkish government still denies any wrongdoing. There are too many painful and undeniable events in the history of mankind. Who could forget the Oklahoma bombing victims? Or how could one be so ignorant of the fact that 1.5 million Armenians were massacred? No one, except the Turkish government. Dear friends, as we enter a new era, we realize that moral values are decreasing and people are becoming more selfish and materialistic. As leaders of this generation, it is our duty to teach our children how to help each other and also teach them how to defend others' rights, freedom, and liberty. Today, I would like to thank all those who recognize that injustice was done to the Armenians. Special thanks to the LA City Council for giving us this opportunity to share and commemorate our ancestors' genocide. Thanks to the leaders of the City of Los Angeles who show concern for the Armenian people and who support the Armenian cause. Also, special thanks to all of you for raising your voice and shouting with us, "Never again, never again." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Members, before I call on Ms. Galanter, we do have some students from USC here. Dr. Raha of the School of Public Administration is accompanying them, and he wanted them to see city government in action. And I should point out that these are presentations. The government action hasn't taken place yet, but we want to. Would they please stand, Professor? Would you please stand? And your students, we want to welcome you to our City Council chamber. Ms. Galanter.
Mr. President and members, today is Earth Day, and I do have, and I believe Ms. Mizikowski is going to join me, we have a presentation to some of the unsung heroes of the environmental movement. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know, some of them you know, and some of them you don't know. But before we do that, we also have a very special presentation. Cindy and Jackie and Rita and I all just came from an event held downstairs to celebrate the beginning of the city's recycling program at city-sponsored special events. And we were lucky enough to be joined there by representatives of the State Department of Conservation who are paying for it. And so we're very grateful to have them here. And also by a group of children from the Logan Elementary School. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, I know for sure, and I'm not sure how many other grades, but we have a new kind of recycling bin that we're going to be using at city-sponsored special events, and I was honored to receive the first one on your behalf, and we're bringing these into council. So I'd like to introduce for you to thank them Larry Goldsbrand, who's the director of the State of California Department of Conservation, and John Ellis, the assistant director. Larry's the guy who made this possible. Hold on a second. Well, what I especially want is we have a whole bunch of the children here, and if you would bring those recycle bins up here, please. Pay careful attention, members of the council. I want to make sure you do this right. We have 2 kinds of bin here for your bottles and glasses. We have the kind that opens like this. And would you demonstrate that other kind, what you do with the bottle there? Just put your fist down there. Or you can put it right in the top. You don't even have to open the can. So today, I want you all to do this right, because I am not the only one watching you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is our new recycle bins. Pay careful attention. If we catch you doing it wrong, we're going to report you to the principal. Well, yes, please do that, but let me just mention, because I understand I inadvertently insulted the fifth grade before, when I pointed out that it's been my experience that the best recyclers are third and fourth graders. Fifth graders, I just want to remind you, you've already been third graders and fourth graders. So I know you already know how to do this.
Good response.
And that's in fact the whole point, that you shouldn't forget about this after you graduate from the fourth grade. So you introduce the teachers.
Okay, I
and
just
then let
want
me
to
introduce Larry
introduce from
Goldsbrand.
Logan Street Elementary School in the great 13th District. We have third, fourth, and fifth graders from two classes, Ms. Hughes and Mr. Farina. And they came down to participate in this, and we welcome you to City Hall.
Stand up,
And they're standing right here in the aisle. Maybe they could just come up in front where the
Come
camera
up
might
in
get a
front where
picture
everybody
of
can
them.
see you. There's too many heads here. Let's
There
get
we
the whole
go.
troop up here.
Thank you. Now I won't interrupt again, I promise.
That's okay. Let me introduce Larry Goldsbrand, the Director of the State Department of Conservation.
Thank you very much. What we're doing today for the City of LA is providing you with upwards of 300 of these yellow bins and 2 new trucks so that you all, when you have your public events, whether they be the LA Marathon, any of the cultural events that happen all the time throughout the Los Angeles area, can make sure that people can recycle their beverage containers not only where they live, but where they play, and also here in City Hall where they work. So we look forward to this productive partnership with the City of LA. We look forward to continuing it, and we certainly hope that you use these bins carefully, wisely, and often.
You want to say something? Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody see yourself on television up there? There you go. All right. Now, I'm going to have to ask you guys to exit while I get 51 other people up here. Okay? Thank you for coming. Keep up the good work.
Leave these yellow ones here.
Yeah, leave the yellow ones. We need them. Maybe we'll have somebody take one to the back. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Logan Elementary.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm now also being joined as we sort out our traffic jam here by Mark Armbruster, the President of the Environmental Affairs Commission, and Lillian Kawasaki, the General Manager of the Department of Environmental Affairs. And all of us together, we're going to try to do this efficiently, but all of us together want to recognize today 51 very special people who've been nominated by different organizations and city departments and council offices as volunteers, unsung heroes of the environmental movement. They're a really special group. They've painted out graffiti, they've planted trees, they've taught children about the environment, they clean up alleys and all kinds of other places. And they try to deal with the proliferation of illegal signs, an issue we discuss far too often around here. What we want to do today is take note of the fact that this is what makes Los Angeles a better environment than it would be without them. And every year on Earth Day, we try to take note of the fact that the Earth is with us all year long, but we have one special day to take some time out of our schedules and acknowledge that it has to be cared for. Just as we recycle, we hope we're recycling. We have many other things that have to be done to make this work. So there are 51 people here, and we're not going to have each of them speak, but they are all very special people. And what I'm going to do is read off the list. I guess we're going to take turns here doing this. Maybe I should let all you guys make your general speeches first, and then we'll go through the list. Why don't we do that?
Well, I'm just happy to be here as part of the program this morning and again today, and recognizing these people, not just on Earth Day, but every day of the year. These are people from the community who are participating to make our city better. And as Councilwoman Galanter said, they are involved in everything from Heal the Bay, from education programs, from neighborhood cleanup to graffiti, to removing signs from the utility poles that we've heard about. And they really are making LA a community, and a better community, as I said, every day of the year. So I'm pleased to be here to present the citations and the certificates to each of them who came. There are some public employees, there are private employees, there are students, there are people who've just decided that they're going to make a difference in our city.
On behalf of Lillian Kawasaki and myself, it is with great pleasure that we do this because Councilwoman Galanter, I know, has been felt this is a very important thing to do for a long time, to recognize with awards the unsung environmental heroes. And we're glad to be able to implement this, and working with Cindy as well, to implement these awards for these people that we see coming before our commission all the time. And we know the tremendous work that we do, and we're happy to have participated.
You want to say anything? No. All right, here we go. What I'm going to do is, we have several people, actually the first three on the list are not here today, but I'd like to read their names anyway, because we do want to acknowledge their contribution, especially because the first one is somebody from my district. So, take a deep breath, here we go. First is Yolanda Becerra Jones, who, among many other things, has worked with the Lincoln Corridor business owners to plant trees and clean up their act with respect to signs. We have Linda, and when I call you, by the way, if you are here, please come up and we'll give you the certificate. Stay up here. It's going to be a mob scene after a while, but that's okay. That's the way it should be. Linda Chilton is an environmental mentor and educator and curriculum developer at Cabrillo Marine Aquarium. Deborah Fryman facilitated the development of community gardens through the LA Community Garden Council. Robert Gagnon, who is a city clerk employee, helps children become more aware of the outdoors and the environment. And you're supposed to be here somewhere. Come on up. Dana Gluckstein founded Americans for a Safe Future, a nonprofit health advocacy organization. The Panorama City Graffiti Busters, sponsored by the Mid-Valley Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Joel. The graffiti busters listed below, along with community service workers, remove graffiti and clean up trash in Panorama City, Van Nuys, Arleta, parts of North Hills, and Sherman Oaks. Lefty Blasco, Guy Dion, Frank Jones, Walter Schulte, and Ardeen Smith. How are we doing here? We're doing this as fast as we can, folks. Perry Griffith, a Los Angeles police officer who organized efforts to close seldom-used alleys in the 77th Street area, cleaned up graffiti, and it helps a lot. Anne Goucher founded a San Pedro committee over 20 years ago, which she currently chairs, that implements community volunteer beautification and environment projects. Bobby and Doug Heller, who remove illegally posted flyers on light standards in the South Carthay area. Mike's nomination, you can tell, there's a clue here. George Haytons leads graffiti removal and weed abatement in the West San Fernando Valley. Dan Hirsch, who will be represented today by Dr. Joseph Liu, is an environmental activist. Most of you know him. He's from Bridge the Gap, and he is one of the lead plaintiffs, as are some of the rest of us here, in opposing the Ward Valley nuclear disposal site. Helen Johnson, a retired senior who organizes community recycling and the cleanup of vacant lots and alleys in the Vermont Slauson area. Rodney June, who is a housing department employee. You'll notice that we have a number of very civic-minded city employees here. Implemented a recycling and household hazardous waste disposal program in the apartment building where he lives. That is a real challenge, and more people should try to do that. Anthony Kay, a representative of the Wilmington homeowners, who run a recycling program that generates revenue for community activities. Excuse me. Kimon Kotos removed thousands of illegally posted signs in the San Fernando Valley and has worked to bring this issue to the attention of the public and elected officials. Mrs. G. Landry Humphrey, one of my favorite community activists, started a recycling program which generates the revenues to help nonprofit organizations which serve homeless families, which she also does. Arthur Langton, tour guide and docent for the Santa Susana Mountains Parks Association, the Sierra Club, and the Chatsworth Nature Preserve and Reservoir. Julia Liu, I apologize if I pronounce anyone's name wrong, formed a student environmental academy to address environmental issues faced by the Watts community, and an after-school program to increase the environmental awareness of students, all of whom will go out and recycle correctly. Alex Mann, an environmental advocate who's helped maintain the environmental integrity of Hazard and Pacific Palisades parks virtually forever. And all of you know Alex Mann. Lynn Marquardt started the Village Gardeners, which plants spring flowers and trees on the banks of the Los Angeles River between Fulton Avenue and Coldwater Canyon. Did we get it right, Alex? I was worried about that, actually. Elizabeth McClellan, I've forgotten what I'm up to here, led the efforts to clean up, convert, and maintain a nuisance alley near her home. Zethel Myers, a Public Works Bureau of Engineering employee, worked to ensure the health and safety of her neighborhood by pursuing the closure and cleanup of problem alleys. Sally Neubauer, a leader for over 20 years in the effort to preserve open space and current president of the City Citizens Committee to Save Elysian Park. Melanie Newkirk, a Housing Department employee. I'll give this over after I get to Greg Smith. Okay. Actually, you do it for a while, but let me get back to that. Yeah, Melanie Newkirk is a city employee who's gone beyond her assigned duties in securing grant funds for tree plantings in targeted neighborhood recovery areas.
We continue with Takahiko Noda, who's a representative of Mitsubishi International, who was instrumental in securing funds for environmental studies programs at the Central Library and 10 community branches, and for the Common Ground gardening program. We also have James Person, who's an educator and grassroots organizer of tree plantings, graffiti removal, and community involvement projects for over 15 years at the Hollenbeck Middle School and in the Boyle Heights community. Ed Peterson, this 93-year-old member of the Theodore Payne Foundation, has been a volunteer for the past 37 years, collecting and preparing native plant seeds for propagation and redistribution. Bill Pope, who is a Heal the Bay volunteer, beach captain for the Adopt a Beach program, and member of the Speakers Bureau program. He can't be here today because he's volunteering for a beach cleanup day. George Quintero single-handedly takes care of his community near Eagle Rock Boulevard by painting out graffiti, trimming trees, talking to merchants, and pulling weeds. The Reseda Renaissance ladies have planted and maintained the medians along Sherman Way using their own resources. They are Allison McGean, Shirley Mertz, and Barbara Varenas. We have Ralph Sanders, who is with the Tree People. He's a citizen forester who has led numerous tree plantings and facilitates an after-school environmental club at Humphreys Avenue Elementary. Julio Santizo started the Eco-Maya Festival in 1995, which helps the community become aware of the need to protect the rainforest. Bella Schimmel, who teaches children about recycling, composting, water conservation, and how to plant and harvest fruits and vegetables. Gregory Smith. I'm sorry.
Do this one. Sorry, I feel very possessive about this one. June, where are you? Gregory Smith, unfortunately, died last year. We adjourned in his memory. Greg was, the most important thing is he was a friend of mine, and I see Mr. Savornich wants to say something as well. June, his widow, who was his partner through all of this, along with Greg, Greg was a lifelong environmentalist. He was one of those people who's a wonderful pill on the subject. He made sure that everybody knew what they ought to do and knew how important it was, and he made you like it while he did it, which is really a challenge. He organized greening projects. He organized community rallies. Every time I turned around, he had a new nonprofit organization to help make San Pedro a better place. And I don't mean to appropriate him from Mr. Savornich, but I really feel very strongly about him. And unfortunately, he's not here to accept this, so we asked June to come and do it for him.
Okay.
Ms. Galanter?
Ms.
Galanter?
Oh, Rudy?
Yeah, Ms. Galanter, if I may, just at that point, I think it would be most appropriate, as we made that presentation, I would like to add my warm and loving thoughts of Greg. He was not only a wonderful leader in our community, but he practiced what he preached, and as well as a good friend, he was also a great teacher. And I was very proud to have him as a teacher in college. And the community sorely misses him, as I know his family does. But I think if the one thing that Greg would have loved that this council and the Recreation and Parks Commission approved was to name the Conifer Grove after him, and I think it's a fitting tribute for such a loving man that we still love to this day, and he is sorely missed and is so well deserving of this recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Svornich, for your support, and thank you, Ms. Galander, for your support. Greg is here in spirit, and he will be with us forever, out there pulling weeds and planting trees.
We have just a few more. We have Russell Smith, who is curator of reptiles at the Los Angeles Zoo, who has led an effort to save the red-legged frog from extinction in the Southern California area. We have Susan Settle, who's an organizer of an extremely popular exhibit at the Municipal Art Gallery that focused on recycled art and design. Mary Thompson established a volunteer restoration program that has brought over 6,000 volunteers to the Ballona wetlands to replace non-native species with native plants and trees. Helen Treen, who is founder of the Open Air Classroom at the Chatsworth Nature Preserve Reservoir, which gives hundreds of school children an opportunity to touch nature. Harold Van Buskirk, an ardent graffiti buster who goes out each morning to remove graffiti in the Sherman Oaks and Studio City areas. Tricia Ward, who is a volunteer at Art Scorps LA, which among other things teaches youth ecological awareness and about the cultural and environmental arts. Ron Webster. Ron Webster leads a Sierra Club Trails crew, which designs, builds, and maintains trails in the Santa Monica Mountains. And I dare say I don't think there's a trail in the Santa Monica Mountain that hasn't been touched by Ron. So when you're walking there, he's the person to thank. Dennis Wayrock, who's with the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium. He's a volunteer there who has organized youth groups to maintain the native plants garden and has helped establish a marine science and environmental studies program at San Pedro High School. Rosemary White is a naturalist, educator, past president of the San Fernando Valley Audubon Society, founder of the Canada Goose Project, and a member of the Chatsworth Reservoir Preservation Task Force. Suzanne Wilkinson plants flowers in front of neglected or abandoned properties, removes graffiti, picks up trash and weeds in her Gliselle Park community. And finally, we have Scott Wilson, who founded Northeast Trees, which has employed at-risk youth to plant an estimated 5,000 trees in the city. Mr. President, these are our unsung hero, and today we're very, very proud to be singing their praises, as I say, not only today, but every day of the year, in helping make our city really a wonderful place. Thank all of you.
And so you can tell the possibilities are limitless, and apparently so are our certificates of commendation. And so for those of you who weren't on the list this year, you have a whole year to get out there and think up a really good project and get it done, because we need all the help we can get. Thank you very much. Happy Earth Day to everybody.
Ms. Galanter? Could we have some attention in the council chamber? Could we have some attention, please? We want to congratulate all of those who have been honored today, and we appreciate the good work that you do for our city. And if you will stay, you're welcome, certainly. And if you leave, please leave quietly, because we want to now take up the agenda for the city agenda for today. We want to thank you for coming. So the next order of business.
Items 1 through 5 are items
What?
noticed
No.
for public hearing today.
No, members of the council, there are several items on the agenda that there's a request to continue. So if you bear with me, we'll go through those items and we'll continue them, so if there are people waiting to be heard on them, or they'll know the matter is going to be continued. So
The first item, Mr. President, that's to be continued to May 22nd, and the interim referred back to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee at Councilmember Walters' request.
Is there any objections to that? Seeing none, that will be the order.
Item 2 is to be continued to May 13th. The applicant has submitted a letter that's on the file.
Is there any what district is that?
Council District 9.
Okay, is there any objections to that? Seeing none, that will be the order.
Item 4, the continued hearing in Council District 1, Building and Safety, is to be continued to May the 6th.
Is there any objections to that? And seeing none, that will be the order. The next item,
Item 8, Commerce, Energy, and Natural Resources Report and Ordinance, is to be continued to May 22nd at a motion by Councilmember Galanter.
is there any objections to that? Item 8, seeing none, that will be the order. The next one,
Item 22, Councilman Ridley Thomas has requested to be referred back to the Information Technology and General Services Committee.
is there any objections to that being referred back to committee? Seeing none, that will be the order.
Item 27, the ordinance is to be presented today and continued to May 22nd pursuant to required charter
No,
sections that are
We'll
noted.
leave that on the desk, because I think there's some discussion on that.
All right. Item 32 is to be continued to June 23rd at the request of Councilmember Walters.
Is there any objection to that? Item 32, I know there's some people who want to be heard on that, but the item is going to be continued until,
June 23rd.
what's that?
There was a request for some public comment on that item. May that be heard?
No, not, normally we don't, you can talk at the end of the meeting on public comment, but not on this particular.
Okay, well, we will have a chance to comment then at the end of the meeting on that
Yeah.
agenda item.
Yeah, if you'll submit a card to the sergeant for
we have
public
done
comment. For public comment.
Yes, we have done so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So there's no objections on 32, will be continued. Is that it? Okay.
John, for an
I'd like
introduction.
to continue item 10 one day.
Ms. Goldberg wants to continue item number 10 for one day. Is there any objections to that? Seeing none, that will be the order. Mr. Burnson?
Yeah, I have a introduction, Mr. President. We have some students here from Edison Middle School who are with Ellen Sachs Gin. If they'll stand, please, and be recognized. This is a group of honor students from Edison Middle School who have worked with people to tour the Chatsworth Reservoir and had the tour. What else? And the Canada Goose Project, which is part of it, which is in the Chatsworth Reservoir.
Okay.
So I want to acknowledge they're here and thank them for coming.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burnson. The next item,
Item 3, you have a hearing, ordinance first reading, negative declaration, Council District 2.
all right, is there anybody in the chamber who wants to be heard on item number 3? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion on item number 3? Ms. Goldberg? Ms. Goldberg, did you want to be heard on 3? Okay. Yes, Mr. Wax, item number 3, prepare the roll on the, or-
Just hold this on the desk a minute.
Okay. Item 3 is hold on the desk. Next item,
Item 5 is a continued hearing, Building and Safety Department report and confirmation of assessments, Council District 14.
is there anybody in the chamber who wants to be heard on item number 5? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion on that?
I need a motion to confirm the
We need a
assessment.
motion from Mrs. Chick to confirm the assessment. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote. That is approved. Next item.
Items 6 through 25 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Are there any specials by council members? 6 through 25. Wait a minute, Mr. Holden. What items? 11 and 20? Okay, Ms. Goldberg.
16, 20, and 23.
And 23. Huh? 9 by Mr. Alarcon. Any others? Okay, we have 6 through 25 with the exception of 9, 11, 13, 16, 20, 23. And we better call 24 because it doesn't have a recommendation. Okay.
Yes, 24, Mr. President, is without recommendation.
Prepare the roll on the balance. Tabulate the vote. Those are approved.
Mr. President, I just wanted to introduce to the rest of the council, now Commissioner Lisa Queer Quadromed, who came to the chambers even with a broken leg, and she was item number 6 that we just approved in terms of her sitting in the Industrial Development Board. And I just wanted to thank her for being here, and congratulations on being confirmed.
Did you, you didn't break her leg, did you, Mike?
I sure didn't, Mr. President, but it shows you the effort.
Congratulations, and we thank you for the work you will do for the city. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Next item.
Items 26 through 51 and 54 through 57 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 24 special.
Yes. Huh? Okay, wait a while. Let's first of all, we want to see if there's anybody who wants to be heard. We have item 47. We have a lot of people want to be heard on that. Obviously, will be called special. Wait a while, one at a time. Item 26, is called special. 50. 44. '24 has been called special. That was the previous group. Any other specials? Okay, we have 26 through 51, and we have 26 called special.
You have a card on
44 called
47.
special. 47 we have cards on. 50 is called special. And we have 54 through 57. Any specials there? All right, we're seeing none. The public hearing's closed. Prepare the roll on those that have not been called special or been continued already.
And 27 you called special.
Uh,
The ordinance, we have to wait 30 days.
Yeah, yeah. 27 we'll call special. Okay.
Okay, we're ready.
Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. Items 52 and 53 are closed session items. We'll leave those on the desk. Now we'll go back to the
Specials.
specials, yes.
3, Councilman Wax.
Mr. Wax? Okay.
9, Councilman Alarcon.
Mr. Alarcon, you call 9 special. Will you press your button? Press your button.
I'd like to hold that matter on the desk. We're still working on it. We think we can get it done today.
Okay. Okay, the next one would be
11, Councilman Holden.
Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden, you call 11 special.
Could you hold that on the desk until our attorney gets down? They're on their way.
Okay, okay, the next item would be 14.
14, Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you call 14 special.
I'd like to know whether or not this particular permit
Great, thank you. They called you special, yes.
involves living wage, involved any workers who might need to be paid living wage, whether that was discussed in committee, whether that was found, yes or no? Is there anyone here who can answer the question?
Anybody here from the Harbor Department? Where are they? Would you take center table here? Ms. Goldberg's asked, did you hear her question, or do you want her to repeat it?
Could you please repeat the
Sure.
question?
I wanted to know whether there were custodial or security jobs in this contract, and if so, were they required to pay them a living wage?
We're talking with regard to the Matson item.
Yes.
I don't know whether or not there are custodians that are employed by Matson. I would imagine that if they're not employed by Matson, they probably have somebody who they contract those jobs to. But I don't know the answer. I can find out
And
for you.
did the harbor require living wage for them?
In this particular item, I do not believe that there is living wage language in that lease. But again, I have to check. I wasn't prepared to talk about that item. We can look into it for you.
Could we just hold it one day and find out?
Certainly,
Thank
we'd
you.
be happy to do that.
We'll hold it till Friday. Thank you.
No, it's 14. 14 will be continued until Friday. Sergeant, you know the rules we have that only one staff member can be on each side of the, and the others, if there's more than one staff member, they should be behind the curtain over there, the rod. Mr. Holden, would you help be cooperative? I know you want to have a little decorum here because you're come from the Senate, and they have nothing but decorum in the Senate.
You were up there yesterday, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
and I know it, and they sure do, and I want to,
Learn a good lesson.
yeah, thank you. Okay, the next item,
16, Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you call 16. If you press your button, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. How's that?
Who's
I wanted to ask whether the statement of investment policy involves any consideration of living wage as a criteria
I press it and then it goes off.
for who we would invest with or who we would try to urge to do living wage to invest with. When we were doing living wage ordinance, there was some testimony from CRA that they would voluntarily take these issues up, and I'm wondering if that ever got done.
A number of issues with respect to this item and the living wage. First of all, as I've stated previously, I think the agency is ready to go along with the living wage ordinance as promulgated by the city. And with respect to banks that we invest in, I think that our policy can mirror the city's policy, whatever that is, in terms of choosing banks with whom to invest our funds. We could certainly look at that issue.
Well, I would hope, it's been a year since we passed living wage. I'm just asking, was this a year ago this month, colleagues? So I'm just trying to ask whether these things have actually finally happened and it's becoming a part of our institutional kind of questioning. And that's all I'm trying to establish is that our policies, whether it's CRA or the City of Los Angeles, should reflect our other policies. And I know that that's your position, so I'm just trying to see if it's gotten done yet or not.
The agency board has not adopted that policy, although virtually every action that the agency takes comes up through city council, and so therefore
well, I understand, but really it would be, from our point of view, far better not for us to have to ask each time and check each time and read each document, but to assume that the agency has done what it said it was going to do, which was to adopt the policy itself.
we have not done that yet, but I understand the concern. And
Is it imminent?
I will bring it forward to my board for attention as soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Savornich?
Mr. Malloy, I wouldn't be too hasty in doing that, because about a year ago this time, I also brought a motion before this body that said if we were going to expect the CRA or any entity to go ahead and conform to the ordinance, that the city itself should, like in regards to our pension plans and some of the monies that we control. And that was dropped like a hot rock. Because if the city itself won't step up to the plate in regards to where we want to invest our money and entities that are paying the living wage, then we're going to be doing with the money that we want to grow our communities. And when we went and brought that forward to the Board of Pension Commissioners, they backed off of that like it was a hot potato. And so I really have some problems that we're asking that we go ahead and mandate the Community Redevelopment Agency that has the responsibility of trying to bring back neighborhoods with the precious so little dollars that we see, and the money is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, having to conform with programs that we as a city body itself with our own money and some of the money that our employees have in trust with their pensions, about $14 billion of it, not wanting to invest in banks or companies or corporations that do or do not pay a living wage. And so, Mr. Malloy, I really wouldn't be doing cartwheels to try to use the precious so dollars unless this is an order of the council, because if we really want to put our good faith forward and really show that we believe in what we are saying, then we should mandate that monies that are controlled in trust by we as a city family are also invested in that way, and we haven't done it.
From the agency's perspective, we would just like to mirror the city's policy on investments. We don't want to do anything that's out of line with what the city is doing. Frankly, as I sit here, I can't remember how the living wage ordinance applies to banks in which the city has invested, but we would be more than pleased to comport with that policy.
Mr. Hernandez?
You know, Mr. President, Mr. Malloy, first let me applaud Mr. Savornich for the spirit in which he is talking about. I think that deep down he believes that we shouldn't exploit anybody, whether it be the city pension fund or any city department or any city agency that is paying someone less than a living wage for every hour of work. And I think that that spirit is very important, that we as a council have to recognize it. I don't believe our pension fund should be investing in businesses that aren't paying a living wage. That's exploiting the working person. And the reality is, I think we should continue in that direction. The question I have to you, Mr. Malloy, being that we're talking about the spirit of the living wage and you're talking about contracts and policies, if someone was to tell the department, we're going to be paying a living wage on this contract, on this project, and then they do not, what powers would you have to enforce that?
Well, if the agency were to adopt the living wage policy as its own...
No, at this point, when you don't have that adoption, and you're saying that the contracts in the spirit, they're complying.
Well, with respect to the contracts, for example, that we, most of our contracts that we go out for are construction-based contracts that are subject to Davis-Bacon anyway. And so the people who are actually constructing the things that we finance are all more than adequately covered under the living wage and beyond that. For our direct services, if we're hiring janitorial services or that type of thing where there is a group that is actually serving the agency, in that context, as I have stated before, and I've discussed this with many of my commissioners, there's no real objection to applying that aspect of the living wage ordinance to those kinds of contracts. So yeah, I guess the answer is it would depend upon the kind of relationship that we had with the developer or contractor involved. If it is a construction contract, as most of our deals are, then that's going to be covered at the current time anyway. So there are really very few examples of things that might crop up where the living wage would not be paid.
And if that was to happen, we would most likely be made aware of that.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else want to be heard on this? We have item 16 before us. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. The next item would be
20.
20.
On number 3, that turns out to be right across the border in CD7, and it's okay with Mr. Alarcon, and I looked at it and it seems fine, so we don't need to call that special any longer.
Okay, we have item number 3 before us, so prepare the roll on that. Tabulate the vote. That is approved. Next item.
Item 20 called special. Councilmember Goldberg and Holden.
All right. We have somebody from the mayor's office and someone from the custodian. Diane Saley, did you want to come at the center table? Yeah.
Mr. President, before we do that, I would really like to, if I could, just put a context to this because it's been
Okay.
heard now twice in committee.
Diane,
That-
you can take the center table.
Absolutely, you can certainly. It's not to keep you from speaking. I just want to.
Yeah.
I want to just report where we are and how it got here, and then.
Who erased the names now? We're having a little trouble with the machine. I know, Ms. Goldberg, you're, okay. All right, Ms. Goldberg, you have the
Okay,
floor.
I want to set the context here. We Prop 5'd this item because there had been a statement that the city workers hired, actually Harbor Department workers hired by the Harbor Department could do this contract for the same or less money than the outside contractor. So we Prop 5 that under the charter section that says we're supposed to take a look at these things. We found out that, first of all, so that you'll know, the contractor that the harbor suggested get the contract was the low bidder at $196,500, which includes an $8.50 per hour wage rate, which meets the minimum requirement of living wage. And they bid $196,501 for the first year of the contract, which allows for up to a 7.5% year increase in years 2 and 3. Using vocational workers, 4 vocational worker ones and 4 vocational worker ones at night, and a senior custodian attendant, it would cost the Harbor Department approximately $240,000 to do the same job. They have a number of 275, and we could argue about that, but theirs starts, they add some costs from GSD, and in any case, there's a $70,000, I mean a $45,000 difference between the two. The difference, however, is also in the number of hours you get. The contractor proposes to take 6.68 people, full-time equivalents actually, for 266 hours a week. The General Services Department advised the committee that they believe that the current requirement of 8 full-time people, which the current contractor is doing, would take 360 hours a week, and they have no idea how you could do what was required of the contract in 266 hours. We then had 2 committee meetings. We came up with, 3 people were there, we came up with 3 alternatives as to what to do, which is why there are no recommendations. In the meantime, the Harbor Commission, which had asked for us to send it back to them, the chair of the Harbor Commission has called me and informed me that the mayor's office has urged them not to change their mind if it comes back to them, but to stay put with the $196,000 contractor. And I would just like to say, not wishing to get into a long and lengthy discussion or debate, I think we should go ahead and let this contract go to the contractor. I will say that I do not think that it is likely that you can do in 266 hours what you need to do for 360 hours. And so I would ask for a following amendment to the contract, which is in 6 months, we get a review of the quality of the service brought back to the joint council committees, Commerce, Energy, and Personnel. And if they can do it in 266, God bless them. But I want to add just 2 final comments on this, because one is that worker retention, there are 8 employees there now doing the work. This means that several people will lose jobs, so you understand all the ramifications of doing this, because they're not going to have 8 people doing the work. They plan to have 2 full-time and several part-time people doing this job. Also, the difference is, of that $40,000 difference between the 2 contracts, is primarily in retirement, medical, dental, and hold on, I'll give you the other. Medical, dental, and retirement. So the difference is, in one bid, they think they can do it with 266 hours a week. The employees will not all be rehired because they are not going to use 8 full-time people. But they will get a lower level of benefits, though they will get some, and they will not get retirement, versus the 8 full-time people that are already there being hired as vocational workers, adding a senior custodian, getting 360 hours a week, and for $45,000 more, I don't want to gild the lily, $45,000 more, they get, all of them keep their jobs, and you get more hours, almost 100 more hours, and you get a higher level of benefits, and you get retirement. So those were the 2 choices, but I don't think that over these 8 people we ought to have another war, and so I'm going to move that with the item before us, that we accept the Board of Harbor Commission's action of March 23rd, and amend only that there will be a report in 6 months on how the contract is going to the 2 council committees that heard it in the first place.
All right, is there any objections to that 6 months report? Did you want to say something?
I object to it.
Well, wait a minute, Mr. Holden. Just because you object to it doesn't mean it's going to be
Yes, if there are any
objected to.
objections.
Yeah, well, we'll vote on that, Mr. Holden.
Okay.
Ms. Saley, you want to speak, and then?
Thank you, Honorable Councilman John Ferraro and council members. Based on the presentation by the councilwoman, I really appreciate her concern and her remarks, and I'm here obviously on behalf of the director of the Minority Business Opportunity Committee, and I was here really strongly to support the award of the contract to TBM based on several compelling reasons, and I might just go ahead and state those for the record, but I do agree with the recommendation at this point that was expressed by the councilwoman. But TBM Custodial Services has been in business for over 10 years and completely competed fairly with a good faith effort, and they competed against 87 bidders, and out of the 87 there were 31 minority-owned bidders, and they were able to cut the cost to be competitive. They complied with the city's employee retention and living wage requirements, reduced their profit margin so that they could to be competitive and meet the requirements of the bid. And as my program deals daily with minority businesses, we promote the city's minority business outreach program, which tells, these small firms who are very anxious to get contracts with the city, that if they bid competitively, follow the procedures, and come out the lowest bidder, that they will get the contract. Now, I know there's a lot of other reasons why the other issues were brought up, but the fact that this process went forward as it was without these issues, and they came up at the end of the process, is where we have the problem that it hurts the integrity of our process and then sends a bad message to the minority business community. So I was here to speak on behalf of the award of the contract, and with all respect to the concerns that were raised, but I think that the decision is correct to award the contract at this time, and thank you very much.
Okay. We've had public hearings on this, but there are some other people who want to be heard, but Mr. Savornic, I'm going to call on you next.
Did I call it special, yes or no?
They both call it special, so what's the difference?
Did I call it
Mr.
special, yes or no?
Mr. Holden, everybody's anxious to hear you speak, but we're not going to let you speak for a while because we want to build up the,
Mr. Savornic can speak, but I just want you to know that, Mr. President, what's going on.
Mr. Holden, I know what's going on. I hope you know what's going on. Mr. Savornic, I'm going to read time.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I too rise in support that we should award this contract, even though that was not what I had suggested to do in committee the other day. In committee the other day, upon the request of the President of the Board of Harbor Commissioners, they had requested that the item come back to them. And upon advice of the city attorney, since now we as the city council are sitting here as the Harbor Commission, we cannot refer it back to them because you can't refer something back to yourself. And right now that's who we are. We're sitting as the Harbor Commission. So with that option gone, I also rise to support the awarding of the contract. And I think basically what this came down to was the reason why it was Prop 5 in the first place, because some information that was presented to us that said, yes, that we would possibly be able to hire vocational workers with the Harbor Department being the hiring entity that would bring in this contract at an equal to or lower price. But upon further review by staff, that was proven not to be the case. And as Councilwoman Goldberg pointed out, the difference now is whether or not the contractor can do the same job for a lesser price, working less hours within the scope of the contract. So I would think that the 6-month review process would be something prudent to take a look at to see if we are indeed getting the level of work that we want, because according to the estimates that we received from the various staff members, there's about 3,000 total hours of service less in the private contract than what would be within the General Services Department or if the Harbor Department hired the vocational workers themselves. But the price difference is substantial also. It's a $90,000 price difference. And the only thing that we can go on today is the private contractor stating that, yes, they can do the work, that they have efficiencies that they've built into their system with mobile cleaning units and small vacuum cleaners and all this minutia that we probably don't need to get into, that, yes, they can do the work at that price to everyone's satisfaction. So I see no position that this council, sitting as the Board of Commissioners, can take than to award it to the responsible bidder that we have here, which is TBM.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call on Nate Holden now. Everybody ready to hear from Mr. Holden?
That's right, Mr. President, and I support awarding of the contract, and I don't believe in different strokes for different folks. The fact of the matter is that we don't require other contractors to show us what they've done in the past 6 months. What we do from time to time show that they put up a performance bond. Have they put up a performance bond, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, then what are you asking for? You're asking for another double standard. I don't care who it comes from and how it's put up on the table, but that's what it is, and that's why I'm going to vote no on that issue. I'll vote to let the contract go, performance bond. I'm going to vote no. Number one, I'm one of the last guys who would vote to contract something out. And for those of you who've been around me, they know that. I'll make every effort to keep the job in-house. But if you felt you could do a better job in-house, you should have kept it in-house to begin with, not give it to this outfit. Then you turn around and you see who they are and say, no, we're not going to get it. And that's right. You're not going to get it. And that's the way I feel about it, Jackie. You push your button over and over again if you want to. I think it's wrong They came in way low, and they've been hassled around because misinformation been passed to members of this council back and forth from the commissioners to the council, from the council to the commissioners to the union. The union came in today and say, we back off, let the contract go. Well, how much hassling do you have to get in order to get that kind of an accomplishment or that kind of cooperation? Sure, I'm upset because they've been treated wrongly, in my view. The fact of the matter is, if they can say they can do the contract for $190,000+, hey, you fail, you fail. You put up a performance bond, you lose. They're playing by the rules, however way you want to look at it. So I'm upset, yes. Do I want to contract out? No. Will I make an effort to keep the job in the house in any case? Yes. And I've done it over and over and over again. But sometimes you just can't scratch the bottom of the barrel. You can't find something when you're hunting when there's nothing there. This one should go, and it should have gone long time ago.
Mr. Hernandez.
You know, members of the council, as we debate these issues, the reality is these dollars figures are small, but to the person who has to earn the wage, they have a tremendous impact on that household. We as a council have found out the hard way that we had employees who were working for less than minimum wage under the Department of Libraries for providing parking services because of a contract that was issued. And when you totaled the number of hours that were promised and the wages that were being paid, the reality was less than minimum wage. We as a council found out the hard way that people who were doing custodial work in this building were not getting paid by the contractor. And they weren't getting paid because the contractor had something called overhead and time frames that they had to wait out for the city to pay them. And what we do know about this contract is that 7 people less will be employed because of its basically being issued. We know that because we looked at the total number of hours and we expect some efficiencies from this new contractor. But the dollar figures, again, I want to remind you, are not large. They're just going to be large for those who earn the wages. Now, the mayor has taken responsibility for this. He has said to his commissioners, do not back down. And the reality is the Minority Business Opportunity Office is here to testify that that minority business should get the contract. And I need to remind them that they have a responsibility to make sure that that business is successful and can continue to do business, but also that its employees have a living wage. And that is important. I just want to bring it to our attention because as we're debating back and forth, the reality is what we're really debating is the quality of life of working people in the city of Los Angeles. And I don't want us to lose sight of that fact. And what we as a public entity choose to set as a standard as to how employees who do work for this city are treated.
Goldberg, did you want to be heard again?
Yes, I did. Actually, you had just one mistake in what you said. Well, actually, you had several mistakes, but only one I'm going to correct. And that is, Mr. Holden? Mr. Holden? This contract has never been inside. It's always been outside. Well, that's a mistake that in your
I didn't say it was
description.
always inside. I said inside was competing for it, and they lost.
Well,
They never had it before.
we have a difficulty, in my opinion, in that the Harbor Department, in my opinion, is not fully interested in the notion of living wage. They've made it quite clear that they don't think that's an issue they have to worry about. They nonetheless did put living wage in this, for which I am eternally grateful. However, I do think that, Mr. Holden, to say that you always support not contracting out is obviously not true because you're supporting contracting out here. Yeah, so that's a double standard. This one's a double standard, I guess.
Let's talk on the subject.
In any case, the contracting out does come at a price. And the price is very simple. Fewer people will have jobs, and they will not get the same benefits as they would as city workers. And that's the issue. There are no other issues. We read the contractor, TBM's background and their qualifications. They are fully qualified. That was never an issue. They are a fully qualified company. The issue really is whether or not we should be contracting out positions that would give better benefits like retirement and like dental benefits and other things like that, and where we would hire the appropriate number of employees that at least General Services thinks you need in order to do the job. That's really the only issue. And in this case, I'm going to side with the idea of seeing what will happen and urge an aye vote on the item before us.
Have an amendment.
The motion is before you on the board, Mr. President, affirming the action of the Board of Harbor Commissioners and awarding the contract to TBM Custodial Services with the amendment that they report back within 6 months.
Well, we have to vote on the amendment first. All right, prepare the roll on the amendment.
Amendment?
So report back in 6 months. Tabulate the vote. That is approved. Now we have one no. I don't know, Mr. Holden.
You now have the motion as amended.
Now, prepare the roll on the motion as amended. Tabulate the vote.
14 aye.
That is approved. Mr. Holden voted yes. Next item.
Item 23 called special, Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you called 23 special? If you forthwith on that.
It's really a quickie. I just wanted to commend the Transportation Department for the wonderful brochure that Angels Walk represents. I would like to urge that we consider doing this for several different parts of the city because I think it is a really wonderful brochure, and we should encourage people to walk. We should encourage people to learn about the history of the city, and I think you can't do that from inside an automobile. You got to get out and walk. And so I just wanted to commend the department and urge that we find some way to work with the Transportation Department. I think there's probably a walking tour in every district, and it would be useful, I think, to find them. They are good for the citizens and good for the health of the community. And I just wanted to say, when I saw the brochure, that I was really quite pleased to see what they have accomplished.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Alarcon Mr. Alarcon, you have the floor.
I just wanted to say that the purpose of the $100,000 is not just for a guidebook. It's for stanchions or kiosks that will be located. So not only would we have a guidebook, but also some significant landmarks to be useful as you're looking at the guidebook. So I think we should look at both concepts throughout the city where we have cultural sites and historical sites, and I applaud the work as well, and am happy to support it.
Okay, prepare the roll on item 23. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. The next item.
24 called special. It was submitted without recommendation.
Mr. Alarcon and Mr. Fuhr, we have 24 without a recommendation. You have two committees.
Finance Committee report.
Okay.
Well, actually, Mr. President?
Yes.
Well, depending on who you want to call on first.
Well, will you press your button?
I did.
Press it again. Yeah.
If I might, Mr. President, in Budget and Finance, on a key provision, at that point, Ms. Walters and I differed. But I have since an opportunity to review with real specificity Transportation Department documents, and so I concur with Ms. Walters' recommendations from Budget and Finance, and so we have a mutual unanimous report that moves forward, and I would second Ms. Walters' motion to adopt what we would now agree upon in Budget and Finance.
That would be the CAO recommendations.
There's a minor difference.
Oh.
The difference is
Okay. Mr. Alarcon, did you want to be heard? Press your button.
I don't believe I have a problem with the motion, but I'd like to know what it is.
Yeah, what the heck is it? Yeah. Maybe the CAO should come forward, but basically the difference between, I believe, between your committee's approach and that with which I now agree with Ms. Walters on is the fact that Ms. Walters moved that we cash fund the dial-a-ride process. Is that right, Rita? Rather than have that be bonded. And I think that's a good idea, and that's the one difference between the two.
Well, I think that may be significant. I'd like to hear from the CAO. I was under the impression that the debt was being held by the MTA as opposed to the City of Los Angeles, so...
Alex Ocampo with the CAO's office. That's a correct statement. It would still
That part of it did not change. We would still have the MTA issue the bonds.
Okay.
The only change was that we are not bond financing the dial-a-ride vans. We will only be financing the dash buses. So that takes out about $2 million out of the financing project.
And where do we get the funding for the $2 million?
I believe the recommendation was to fund it directly from existing Prop C monies in the current year.
And what are the ramifications of doing that?
Valerie Pryor, CAO's office. That's consistent with the Prop A and C budgets. We would spend the $1.9 million out of funds this year, which would reduce the available balance for next year, but then the debt service for each of the years goes down from $2.7 million to $2.4 million. So over the 10-year life of the bonds, it's more or less even.
And are we taking that $2 million from other projects?
No, it's from the reserve for Metro Rail, which is the unallocated portion of the Prop A and C budgets at the end of the fiscal year, which gets reserved to be rolled over into the next year's beginning balance.
With that in mind, I would have no problem with concurring with the Budget and Finance report.
All right, the chair recognizes Councilman Walters.
The clerk asked, was this a CAO report? And I want it to be very clear that we're not voting on the CAO recommendations. There's a difference in the Budget and Finance Committee recommendations from the CAO. And that difference being, as the CAO staff just stated, that rather than debt that portion of the cost of the buses, the dial-a-ride buses, that it be paid cash for, and that would come out of Prop C savings.
All right, is there any further discussion? Then open the roll on the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation. Close the roll.
14 ayes.
That's approved. Next order, Madam Clerk.
26 called special.
Ms. Walters, did you call 26 special?
I did. I had some questions. I've had them answered, so it's fine.
All right, well, we need a motion for A or B. Mr. Fuhrer moves alternate B. Is there any further, any discussion? Chair recognizes Mr. Savornich. Press your button. Chair recognizes Councilman Savornich.
We just have staff or someone explain what the difference between A and B is?
The guts of both A and B. The only difference is that the Police Commission and Police Department both recommended that we mildly amend what we've done to allow security guards and a couple other classes of people, federal firearms licensees, not to have to be thumbprinted when they buy ammunition because they get criminal histories done annually anyway. That's the only difference. And I'll move that. That's fine.
Chair recognizes Councilman Hernandez.
You know, I just wanted to stand up and try and get a little bit more clarification. I'm trying to understand this. Staff has indicated to me, and the city attorney's office has indicated to me, that the design of the ordinance was to prohibit people with criminal backgrounds from basically buying ammunition. And at the same time, it's asking us to exempt law enforcement officers, museums, movie studios from the ordinance. Now, the reason I'm a little confused, and maybe you can help me out, Mr. Fuhrer, there, is my assumptions are those people don't have a criminal background.
Yeah. May I respond? There are actually two different categories of exemptions. With regard to the purchasing of ammunition, and that's the exemption that's on the table today,
Right.
which differs. There are four classes of people that the police department and commission ask be exempted because they have, pursuant to other licenses, summary criminal histories performed on them annually, so we know whether they're criminals or not.
No,
And
Mr.
they're-
Fuhrer, and I understand that differentiation.
Yeah.
Where the reason I'm asking the question is if someone's going to walk in with an ID and say, I'm a police officer, I don't have to apply for the ordinance. I would think it wouldn't matter to us whether they proved who they were, signed a book. I can understand some Privacy Act type informations. What I'm hearing is that they're going to check everybody on the list, and I thought that was going to be done randomly. I'm asking a question because it seems illogical to me for someone who's legit to be exempt from putting down the information.
Okay. I think again, I don't frankly have a strong feeling myself, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to adopt what the commission and department said. I think their views make it a little bit easier for people who are, police officers who are off duty who show that they have the badge. But it's your call, either A or B. But I'm going to move B, the deference to the police department and commission.
And maybe they want to respond to it to give me some clarity. I'm just trying to understand the difference.
Well, I'm Captain Whitley from Detective Headquarters Division. One difference is that even the
the waiting period for buying a weapon, both under federal law and state law, waiting 10
Now,
days.
is there a waiting period regarding ammunition?
Excuse me, I was trying to answer your first question.
Okay.
That waiting period for buying a weapon is waived for police officers across the state and across the nation. So the similar type of thinking applies to this ammunition, is there's a waiver because of their, who they are. They already have record, they have fingerprints in Sacramento. If they're convicted of a felony crime, they're immediately fired, or their ID is taken away. So there's nothing really accomplished by having their name on the list.
Unless they're not who they claim to be.
All right, any further discussion? Then open the roll on alternative B. Close the roll. That's approved. Next order, Madam Clerk.
20, forthwith? Okay.
Without objection, forthwith. Next order.
27 called special, Mr. President.
Who called 27 special?
It was called special. This is the first presentation of this ordinance. It has to be carried over 30 days in accordance with charter requirements. And
Okay, well, I think the staff perhaps can make their presentation then.
It's an ordinance that allows the fire and police officers to receive their health subsidy when they retire at age 55 instead of 60. It was part of our collective bargaining agreements. So it's really a ministerial act on the council's part to approve the actual ordinances that are before you now.
All right. Ms. Goldberg, did you want to be heard on this?
Just wanted to remind everybody that brings them in line with civilians.
Okay, thanks.
So that this is not something that isn't already available to civilians.
Okay, then...
I need a motion to continue.
We need a motion to, this is we present the ordinance today, but
Present it
we
today,
can't
yes.
vote on it until
May
30...
22nd.
May 22nd, so if there's no objections, we'll continue item 27 until the 22nd of May. Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 47 called special.
Did we do 44?
Oh, 44, Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg called 40... Mr. Burnson?
Yes, members of the council, I'm going to ask this motion to go to Housing and Building and Safety Committees both. This is I Rule 16'd it because I wanted to make some comments before I sent it. I think we have to recognize that there are some problems here that need to be dealt with by housing on how to provide replacement housing for the people who live in these unsafe buildings. And we need to send it to Building and Safety so they can deal with it like they should have dealt with it when the ordinance was due. Now, what we have here is a situation where we have a lot of people, and there are a number of people living in buildings that are going to collapse if we have a major earthquake, and we will. Just a question of when. In the areas, particularly the areas that are due along the Elysian Fault and the Long Beach, Newport, Inglewood Fault. So we need to, what this does is put everybody on notice that they have a certain period of time to get started. Now, these buildings are either economically viable and can be assisted by either the CRA or our housing funds or something, or they need to be replaced. We cannot continue to violate the law because by allowing these buildings to stay inhabited by residents, we are violating the law which this council passed in 1981. And we will be held financially liable if something happens to the residents of those buildings. So I would suggest that it go to committee. I would ask that it be back here in 30 days. That'll give time at least, and if you need more time, I'm willing to listen, but we need to move on this thing. And I think, Rudy, you got the hardest job because we need to come up with a program in conjunction with CRA housing replacement funds and perhaps some other unique methods of financing, bond financing on revenue bonds or something that can provide for either making these buildings safe or getting replacement housing for the people who live in them precariously.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I just would like to urge that we maybe look at the rent stabilization ordinance in committee as the source because there are no more Section 8 certificates. There is really no funding for this. And unfortunately, the houses that are not economical, the multiples that aren't economical in my district and maybe in other people's districts, are the ones that are the least likely to provide any kind of relocation assistance to tenants. And what we'll end up with, yes, we may end up with them not living in an unsafe building, but we might end up with them not living anywhere as well. So I appreciate the referral to committee and just urge that maybe we can see if there's some funding through rent stabilization ordinance that would provide relocation, because otherwise, if we don't find some way to relocate them, all we're going to do is create some people who don't have any way to. Well, I understand that. I'm not opposed to doing this. I'm just saying we have to take some responsibility, though, because these are very low-income tenants, at least in my district, in very poorly run buildings.
Okay, Mr. Burns, your motion is to refer to,
Which is obvious. And also to be back in 30 days.
all right, Mr. Savarnich?
Well, I think it probably, Mr. Burnson, I think it probably would be prudent at this time to request of staff to have a report ready for the committees to hear it within 30 days or so, so we don't have to start from scratch at that point. So, yeah, if we could request staff before we refer it, that if we could have a report to committee in 2 weeks, that way the starting point won't be 2 weeks from now, but the starting point is today.
I second your motion.
Okay, and then I don't have a problem referring it with that, Mr. President. Well, it would be building and safety and housing, and so probably it's going to end up possibly being a joint committee if Mrs. Chick would like to agree to that.
To go quickly, so it's possible that maybe I would come and sit in on your meeting.
Okay,
and
Mr.
then waive it
President,
in-
why don't we ask that this go to the two committees, and Councilwoman Chick and I will schedule a joint meeting, but what we will ask in the interim is that staff begin to prepare a report, so when they come to the joint committee, we can have a report instead of the committee at that time asking it for another 2-week report.
Okay, that's fine, but Mr. Burnson, you've asked that this be back in 30 days. Okay. All right, there's no objection, that will be the order. Next item. 47 is the next one?
Yes, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Hernandez, you want to press your button, and we have people who want to be heard on this, so.
Mr. President, can we have a 5-minute hearing to begin?
Okay. All right, we'll call on Hillary Norton, Richard Alatorre's Chief of Staff. And then. We did 44.
Good morning, council members. I just wanted to come here in support of Councilmember Hernandez's motion. This is really about allowing merchants more time to complete their negotiations. We believe they should be completed, but we're asking for a little more time for the commission to give them so that they can complete their negotiations rather than fearing that they would have their contracts be open to RFP within 30 days. It's been a big distraction for them, and we hope that this Prop 5 will allow them to be able to complete their negotiations so that all the interim rents can be in place by July 1st. And we'd just like to thank Councilmember Hernandez for entering this motion while the council member is home recuperating. Thank you.
Anzo.
Thank you, members of the City Council, for the opportunity to address you today. I represent a group of 70% of the streets merchants who have been actively involved in negotiations with the city's negotiators now for about the past 6-7 months. We are doing our level best to conclude the negotiations with a package of leases for Olvera Street merchants which are beneficial to the city, which have rights and protections for the merchants, in an interest of preserving Olvera Street, a place that is near and dear to our hearts and I'm sure to many of yours, and has been for 70 years, a place of a very large importance to all Angelenos. We're asking for the Prop 5 today in an effort to allow our association and other individual merchants who are also negotiating with the city the time it takes to develop our lease proposals, Our first real encounter with city negotiators was on March 23rd of this year, when we developed our 26-page proposal and sat down and had both proposals to work with. Now, at this point, May 1 is the drop-dead date that has been imposed on us by the commission and their negotiators. And we are very clear on the fact that we're not going to be able to finalize our negotiations by May 1. Now, June 1st, they've also established as a date in which to put our businesses out to bid. We'd like to bring to light the fact that the Proposition H, which entitles the merchants to long-term leases, was approved by 72% of the electorate back in 1995. It exempted Olvera Street merchants from the city bid process. It enabled us to negotiate long-term leases, which is what we have been involved in, and we wish not to have the threat of eviction and the threat of forced rent increases hanging over our head as we continue to complete this process. This process was established by the Commission. We have been willing and able participants in it, and we are asking the City Council to intervene and redirect the Commission to allow us the time necessary to complete the process without threat or intimidation. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to address them. Otherwise, thank you very much, Council members.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez?
You know, members of the council.
Let me just say we have other people who will make it part of the file.
Okay, thank you. Members of the council, what I want to bring to everybody's attention is that for some reason we as a city, whenever we talk about the Pueblo Monument, we do treat it very different from everything else we do. If you looked at today's agenda, we basically received and filed a motion to transfer funds from a trust account at Olvera Street for a statue of Pio Pico, the first governor of the state of California. And the reason we did that is the trust fund doesn't have the monies to do that. What I also want you to know is that when we dealt with the Harbor Commission's decision in regards to contracting out work for custodial work, the reality is we told Olvera Street when they were forming their authority that they had to take all this staff from the Department of Recs and Parks and operate as if they were an authority. We don't tell Water and Power to do that. We don't tell the harbor to do that. We don't tell the airport to do that. But yet when we were creating the authority, it was to give them some autonomy. And the reality is they are strapped with that overhead. Not only the overhead from staff, but the overhead from the CAO's office, the city attorney's office, and everything else. And so they're trying to operate this monument as if it was independent of the city, but yet we continue to strap them with overhead that they didn't ask for. The other reality is, when you look at the vote we took on Angels Walk, it was to promote, but yet we got money from the Department of Transportation, $100,000 with a promise of another $306,000 coming to promote Union Station, a private development, to promote Little Tokyo, to promote Olvera Street, to promote other areas, but yet when we talk about Olvera Street its own, we say they got to generate the revenue themselves to make it the birthplace of Los Angeles and to continue the soul of the city. And so there's a lot of issues that the commission has to deal with. Now, the purpose of my action, quite frankly, is simple. It's to provide consensus, to create an environment where the merchants, the commission, staff can work out an agreement on long-term leases. We're talking about 30-year leases, and I need to amend this motion to basically, if we take jurisdiction, to allow it to go back to the commission with a new date of July 1st for implementation of what they believe would be a standard of rents so that they can negotiate without this threat. Now, that is my amendment. I'm bringing it to the council's attention because, you see, when we look at Olvera Street, we're not looking at the reality that they have to develop an infrastructure. They have to rebuild buildings that are basically antiquated and the oldest buildings of the city. And they got to build them in a way that they don't lose the character and they lose the bricks that they originally have. But we don't look at Olvera Street as a business improvement district. We don't look at it for 108 funds, for industrial development bond funds. We don't look at it where how is it that we as a city can be partners with the commission, can be partners with the merchants, with long-term agreements to really improve the street as to where it should be. Something that we as Angelinos would be proud of. So what I need you to know is that the president of the commission told me that he was in agreement with July 1st as a date before they impose those rents. You need to know that the executive director told me that he believed that those negotiations could be completed by July 1st, and the merchants have said the same thing. If we could take action that allows for that consensus to continue, and at the same time as a city start start providing the kinds of resources and assistance we provide other business areas in the city, the reality is we might be able to get to where we should be on the street. And so I'm asking for support of the Prop 5. I think it's a uniting type action on our part. The commission is trying to complete negotiations without an understanding that the merchants want those leases also, because it'll allow them to make their businesses at the standard they'd like to see them. They've had to function in those buildings under the conditions that they currently have for now generations and centuries, not centuries, but decades. And so I think they also want to see these lease negotiations completed. And the sooner the better, because then they can get the financing to do the work they need to do. So again, this is meant to provide some consensus. I'm asking for a unanimous vote, and hopefully that the process of reviving the soul of the city, the historic place where this city was founded, can continue. Thank you.
Mr. Fuhrer. That's the 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Mr. Hernandez has amended the motion to contemplate the conclusion of lease negotiations by July 1st, and if they're not concluded by that date, then to allow the interim increases to take effect unilaterally, is something that's worthy of support. Let me share why I think that's true. The Olvera Street, the Pueblo, is indeed a very precious place. Mr. Alatorre has it in his council district and has worked on these issues for years, knows the players inside and out. Mr. Hernandez is the author, I believe, of the initiative that gave rise to the current governing structure at Olvera Street at the Pueblo. Ms. Goldberg has long history at the Pueblo. I come to this new. I'm also the chair of the committee that oversees it, so I've been trying to figure out how the land lays. And here's my perception of where things stand. First, there is a significant consensus, a word that Mike used, around a lot of issues. A Pueblo is a distinctive, precious asset in the city. It has been allowed to decline and needs infrastructure improvements desperately. Management over the course of time has had a checkered history at Olvera Street, and the rents, which haven't been changed for about 11 years now, need to change to keep pace with the realities of the current market. There's a consensus around all those issues. The question is, how do we get to the point where the rents increase to appropriate levels, there is enough money to fuel the infrastructure improvements necessary for all on Olvera Street to prosper, and therefore all in the city to prosper? There are different approaches on the street. There is a group represented by Ms. Bonso, who is here, very able and canny in their approach to how the world works. There is an independent merchants group that has been working to put together their lease agreements in the meantime. There is the commission, which is grappling with how to get the leases to conclude as fast as possible, get the money so they can actually improve the infrastructure on the street. There are all these players there, as well as the political officials involved. We need to assure that the commission have the credibility to conclude these negotiations properly, but as Mr. Hernandez points out, we also need to assure that there is indeed an appropriate amount of time within which those negotiations can conclude without the stick of the interim rent increases. So I will support the Prop 5, I will support the idea of July 1st, but I will also say that July 1st has to be a drop-dead date, because we don't have agreements by July 1st. Those interim increases have to take effect because the infrastructure improvements are fundamentally necessary at the street, and other lease negotiations are moving forward now.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I just want to emphasize that I think that as we go through this process, we should be discussing a role for the merchants themselves to play some kind of role in self-governance in this whole process, which is something I think we did not do thoroughly or well in the ballot measure. It doesn't preclude us from making this possible and making this happen. And I just would urge that as this period between now and July 1st occurs, that we look structurally also to how we don't end up here again in a few years, because I think if we would involve them much more in some kind of home rule, to use an old expression, I think that we'll find that the reinvestments will be made at appropriate places and at appropriate times. And that reinvestment is very important, as was just mentioned by several of my colleagues. So thank you.
Mr. Fuhrer?
Thank you. I have, is staff here? I have one question for staff. I want to just nail something down, which I think is implicit in where we're going, but I want to be sure it's explicit. It'll take 25 seconds. Sit down, relax, go. Here we are. Why don't you introduce yourself for the record?
Frank Catania, representing the El Pueblo Monument.
If we move down, I think that Mr. Hernandez and I would share the perspective, and I don't want to speak for Mike, but I think we're on the same wavelength, that if there are tenants at Olvera Street who conclude their lease negotiations prior to July 1st, that they should not in any manner be put at a disadvantage rent-wise. And I just want to assure, for the benefit of the independent merchants who are here and others who may conclude the negotiations, that the action that is on the table now, as amended by Mr. Hernandez and supported by me, will not in any manner financially jeopardize people who are concluding their negotiations now.
The commission has approved 2 leases and will likely approve a third one tomorrow, which include additional rent, and the commission's action was that those increased rentals would go into effect on May 1st.
Okay, so, but we don't want to be providing a disincentive for people to conclude negotiations now. Do we need to say that those lease negotiations, if they result in increases, won't take effect until July 1st, so everybody's on the same playing field? Otherwise, we're providing a disincentive to conclude your negotiations now, right?
Yes.
All right, I will move, if Mr. Hernandez will join me in that we assure that be true, that we want to encourage the conclusion of these lease negotiations now, and therefore no negotiations that conclude now will take effect with increases until July 1st date. Okay?
All right.
Mike, you'll second that, right?
I second that.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, and just so that there's some clarity, my understanding is Mr. Savernis earlier told us that we are now the commission, and we can't send it back to ourselves. So I'd like the city attorney to clarify what we can do and how we can accomplish that.
Thank you. Once you assert jurisdiction, you step in the shoes of the commission. So you can't send it back to the commission because, as Mr. Savornich said, you are the commission. But what you may do is move that the rent increases don't go into effect until July 1. The commission can then take up the issue of when after July 1 and what other information they need at that time.
And that would be the motion then.
Okay, we have, first of all, we have to exert jurisdiction.
Yes, the first vote would be
Okay,
to
prepare
assert
the-
jurisdiction.
Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now, the matter is before us, and what are the amendments?
Now that you've asserted jurisdiction, you are now taking the place of the commission, and you have the recommendation that the rent increases are not implemented until July 1, with the assurance that lease negotiations ongoing will not go into effect until July 1, so they all come on board at the same time.
Okay, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the council, I just wanted to remind staff that it's important that both sides be at the table and exert as much time as necessary in order to work these things out by July 1st.
You understand that, Frank?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then, is there anything else to do on this? Okay, next item.
50 called special, Councilmember Ridley Thomas.
Mr. Ridley Thomas? Would you press your button, please?
Am I in order, Mr. President?
You are in order.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
you have the
President.
floor.
I'm pleased that you've joined me in the motion that brought this item to our attention. Is essentially the settlement of a long-standing difference between the City of Los Angeles and Century Southwest Cable Television, Inc. It comes to a point of resolution. It is before us because we have much of which to be proud with respect to the savings and the range of benefits that will accrue to ratepayers who are serviced by Century Cable. The Board of Telecommunications has worked in an extraordinary way to provide leadership on this. I wish to acknowledge that, as well as the Information Technology Agency, as well as those on the part of Century, to get us to this point. We are glad that we have finally settled this matter so that we can focus on other matters of import. Let me just simply conclude by saying that it is noteworthy that this is no doubt the largest such settlement of its type that is recorded, and we're pleased that it is going to be of broad impact to those who are clients and are customers of this particular cable company. So that, with that, Mr. President, members of the council, may I urge a unanimous vote in the adoption of item number 50.
Anyone else want to be heard on item 50? If not, prepare the
Mr.
roll.
President, I have to have 12 for these ordinances. Is Councilman Hernandez here?
Oh, he is there.
He
Mr.
is here?
Hernandez.
All right, you do have 12. Go ahead.
Mr. President,
Mr. Ridley Thomas?
might it be appropriate to acknowledge the good work of the Information Technology Agency, Ms. Dr. Wong, and more significantly...
Let's wait and see if we pass this, then...
No, this may sway the decision, and it'll fall where it may. Alan Arkatov, the representing the commission, maybe other commissioners, you're pointing directly. My eyes failed me. Joyce Emerson, the president of the commission, thank you. We appreciate your hard work, Mr. President.
Okay, now
Does that sway your vote?
let's vote. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved, and we'll send it forthwith.
Now, Mr. President, you see there's wisdom in acknowledging those persons had they not been acknowledged.
Yeah.
We don't know how this vote might have resulted.
Yeah, well, it was tough because you were supporting it. It was made it very tough for all of us to vote. Okay, we do want to thank you, and thank you for coming today. Next item.
Item 9 called special, and Councilmember Alarcon has an amended motion 9A that's been distributed to all council
All right,
members.
Mr. Alarcon, you want to explain your motion?
Council members, this is relative to the Northeast Valley Enterprise Zone. In the legislation, we were given the authority to expand the zone by 15%. In the original motion and report from CDD, they made an error in that they counted acreage of the streets, and that was not appropriate there. So there were 35 additional acres that we could add to the enterprise zone. So I'm introducing an amendment to the report to add about 35 acres and have indicated the addresses of those various things. And I would ask for unanimous support.
Okay, we have the amendment, 9A. Prepare the roll on 9A. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Mr. Bernson is in the room, so I record him as an aye vote. And then we have 9 as amended. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item 11 called special.
Mr. Holden, you call 11 special?
Item 11 is a matter which we discussed in Art, Health, and Humanity, and it was regarding a contract that we signed with a developer for the First Interstate building and the library, Central Library, where we were committed to receive a certain number of free parking spaces for a number of years. That's just in summary.
The Obayashi building.
Pardon, I just
the
want to
Obayashi
put,
building.
yeah. And as it turns out that just one day not too long ago, I heard Mrs. Walter state that she was giving another $100,000 to the library to relieve parking in the area and for the library, for patrons there. And I thought that was given to us by the developer for free, and why would we have to pay any amounts of money for that? So the department is here to give us an explanation of what went wrong and why. And I just thought we could receive and file it, but I just thought it'd be worthwhile having this knowledge.
Mark Brown, Assistant City Attorney. I don't believe the Library Department is here, but the motion was to ask us to review the covenant agreement that was signed with Obayashi and to report back on whether or not the free parking that Obayashi agreed to is being provided to the Central Library. And in fact, it is being provided under the terms of the agreement, which said that during Phase 1 parking periods, the owner shall make not less than 260 parking spaces in the parking garage available for the use of Central Library patrons at no cost. Nevertheless, the city shall have the right to charge and may or may not collect from its patrons a validation fee for parking in the garage. What has happened subsequent to the signing of the covenant agreement is that Obayashi has continuously made the 260 parking spaces available to the Central Library for patron parking at no cost to the city. However, the Library Commission took a subsequent action and determined that there should be a validation fee imposed for parking in these spaces, consistent with the validation fee that is charged to park under the West Lawn, which is the First Interstate property, which is right next door to the Obayashi Corporation property. So now what we have is we have two parking lots in very close vicinity to the library that offer patron parking at essentially the same rate, and that's by action of the Library Commission.
So the total amount for those 260 spaces that were set aside by the developer, does that go to the library? Does it come to the city? Does it come to the general fund? Where does it go?
It comes to the library fund.
Goes to the library fund?
Right.
And who collects that money? A private contractor, or that's done by the library, the city itself?
I'm not familiar with that. I believe it's probably a private parking operator, but I don't know
So
that for sure.
wouldn't we have to, the Library Commission could not authorize a contract with a private contractor to collect the fee, or contract out those parking spaces without the approval of the council, is that correct?
No, what the Library Commission did do, and what they can do, is they established a fee, a validation fee for parking in those spaces. I assume that they provide validation stickers.
So they get all the money, is that correct? It goes to the library? Or you don't know
Correct.
that?
Well, I think by audit, they get
How much
paid
money
on a
have they
monthly
received
basis.
in the past year?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
I'm not.
well, it was provided for us in the committee meeting, didn't amount to very much for the past 4 or 5, 10 years, so the money's got to be going someplace else.
I believe the library staff said it was something like $10,000 a year, but
$10,000
that's just
a
what I
year.
recall from
For
committee.
260 parking spaces, something is wrong. I think the council is entitled to know what's happening to the monies that's being collected for the parking spaces and how it's being collected.
Well,
And
if I could say one thing, it's just for evening and weekend parking. It's not for all day long parking. And it's just $1.10, as I understand it. It's $1.10 per hour in the evenings, and it's
The
$2.20
covenant's
for all
provided for
day
just
on
for
the
weekend only, not all day long?
Correct. They use their spaces during the week. This was additional parking that was negotiated.
Well, I didn't recall having voted for that, but you told me that Gil twisted my arm on it, but it was a bad deal then, because we should have, I was under the impression that we had it for 24 hours or whenever we needed those parking spaces, not
don't.
just when they needed the parking
We
space.
don't. The ones underneath the West Lawn we do, but the ones next door is additional parking. It's overflow parking for
Okay.
the weekends and evenings.
Thank you, Mr. Holden.
So they ripped us off again.
Yeah. The next, anybody else want to be heard on this item? So we have item 11 before us. Prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
Ayes.
That is approved. What do we have left?
This is a time for comments from the public on non-agenda items.
Okay.
To speak on public comment?
Well, when we, you didn't, did you put a card in? Yes, you did.
Yes,
so-
I did.
Okay, well, we try to go by or when
right.
they submit the order. Spanky Woods. Spanky Woods. Maricol Zabo.
Yes, my name is Spanky Woods.
Okay, Mr. Woods.
Okay, Los Angeles City Hall is in violation of the California State Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, separation of church and state. In Los Angeles City Hall, there's a Shinto shrine, which was sent to Los Angeles from the city of Nagoya. Its presence in City Hall is a violation of the California State Constitution under separation of church and state. And the city of Los Angeles has shown preference to the Shinto religion since 1963 because that's how long it's been there. It's against the law to have a crucifix or a menorah or a Star of David or a crescent moon and with a star as far as the symbol of Islam goes. And so what I'm saying is that the city of Los Angeles has shown discrimination to religion as far as the Shinto shrine. Now, since 1990, I have tried to have the shrine removed from City Hall. I was told that Councilwoman Rita Walters would be the person for me to contact because it was in her district. In 1996, I went into Councilwoman Walters' office and I filed a complaint asking that the shrine be removed, and I also dropped off pictures in her office, and I never heard from Rita Walters. When Tom Bradley was mayor, I wrote to Tom Bradley about it, and I never heard from Tom Bradley. And I wrote to Richard Reardon about it, and I talked to people in his office about it. And right now, to this day, that shrine is in Los Angeles City Hall.
Okay. All right, thank you, Spanky. We'll have the city attorney look into it. Markel Zabo, and then Nancy Minty, would you get behind him so we don't lose any time between?
Thank you for the opportunity that you give me to speak. My name is Marcial Sasso, the president of UTI, Union of Independent Taxis. This is our 7th week without work. It is a very bad situation, as we are about 65 families who are suffering economically. We don't want to be bandit taxi cabs anymore, because I personally pay about $7,000 in citations, as you can see here. I got him over here.
There he is. Go collect him, Nate.
We ask the city, who has the authority to give us our own company, to work. We are responsible people, and we can do a good job in the city of Los Angeles. We are a big community and also a limited liability company. As a small corporation, city could help us to work, so all bandit taxi drivers join us right away. There are many waiting to be called. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Nancy Minty, did you want to?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Nancy Minty. I'm the director of the Inner City Law Center. For the last 19 years, we've been representing tenants in the city against slumlords. I'm also one of the founding members of the Blue Ribbon Citizens Committee on Slum Housing. And I've come this morning to bring especially to your attention the building that was identified in item 32 this morning at 1600 South Hope. And some of the parents of the families that live in that building have also come this morning, and they're here with me now. And as of this morning, that building was scheduled to come out of the REAP program. And the parents came this morning because they wanted you to take special note that there are still some very serious and long-standing and continuing problems there on that property. Leaking ceilings, leaking plumbing, deteriorated flooring, cracked windows, you name it. And these were present as of last week when we went through the building with some building and safety inspectors. And probably the most serious problem out there on the property, however, is the cockroach infestation. Even during the daytime, you see the cockroaches in large numbers in the building. And that, of course, indicates that the building is completely impacted because cockroaches are nocturnal animals that are supposed to be sleeping during the day. And so when you see them running around the property, it indicates that there's a very, very serious infestation. And when I asked the building and safety inspectors if they were going to notify the health department or do anything about this infestation, they said no, that wasn't their area. So we've called the health department out, and we would like their involvement in the ongoing REAP discussions in this property as well. We also gave some traps to the parents, which they've put out. And when we went out yesterday, when we heard that the building was coming out of REAP, we found something out there at the building that I thought might be of particular interest to you.
We do have other people who want to be heard, so I appreciate
Yes, I just wanted to show you the level of cockroach infestation that the families are accumulating in their apartments just in the matter of a couple of days. Now, my whole briefcase here is full of these traps, but if you'll take my word for it, I will spare you a demonstration of each one. But this is, Roach Motel with no vacancies, and it would be a crime for this kind of a building to be pulled out of REAP at this point. So please keep it in mind, and we'll be continuing to communicate with you on this property.
I think the item was continued for was it a month? The item has been continued.
For
thank-
60 days. So we'll be keeping an eye on it, and we'd appreciate your
Thank you.
support. Thank you.
Richard Robinson.
I just want to note as Richard comes forward that Ms. Minty does exceptionally important and good work and really honors our city by her commitment to people who otherwise wouldn't have representation.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes, the building was continued for 60 days. The group may be wish to know because of the continuing violations. And the department is monitoring that closely and feels that it should be continued for 60
All right.
days.
Thank you, Mrs. Walters. Richard Robinson.
Richard Robinson, 111 West 5th Street, the Frontier Hotel. I'd just like to add that to the previous speaker's comments that Rita, at the Frontier Hotel, our cucaracha problem has diminished considerably. Thank you. Mr. President, members of council, the appointed City Charter Reform Commission meets at the University of Southern California in the Davidson Conference Center in the club room today at 1
Thank you.
p.m.
Thank you.
Post Meridian. That's very, very soon here. Also, Mr. Ferraro, the elected City Charter Reform Commission meets. That's the Committee on the Delivery of City Services meets in the Conference Center at Water and Power, 111 North Hope Street, tomorrow night at 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Mann.
Mr. Ferraro. I'm here on a matter that, actually two matters, both related to the use of and the abuse of parkland. The other day, Mrs. Walters and I had a conversation, a phone conversation, after I checked out with the park department to see if the park department was ever consulted in the process under which it was turned over. The City Hall Park was at the old City Hall was turned over to the Department of General Services. And my concern comes from this and fact that after asking some questions of management over in engineering, my sense is that the fencing has been put out to the sidewalk line, and because so many people use and enjoy the City Hall Park, the placement of fencing so that the total area of the park is lost, I think is a grievous mistake. And this never went through the management of the Park Commission, the Park Department. I spoke to Dallin Zammerslaw, who's one of the top managers in there, and Dallin tells me the Park Department was never advised that this City Hall Park, which is a piece of dedicated parkland protected under the city charter, no steps were taken to see whether we could keep some of the space open to the downtown public, because we are park starved in this city, and we're really park starved downtown. So I would urge the council to take a second look at this. It's a case of fencing overkill, and it's a shame to lose this lovely place that so many of us enjoy in the course of a day when we come down here, or people who live down here, or for the homeless who sit there and sometimes spend their days there. And so I'm urging the council to take this to the appropriate committees that oversee parks, arts, health, and humanities, and find out how this happened, that we're losing the total acreage in here due to fencing, much of which may be totally unnecessary. The other park item that concerns me is something that came to my attention in my district, in Councilwoman Misinkowski's district, where a piece of public land that was condemned by the city because it was a landslide area on a street called Castlemar, Council File 971869, which will come before the council tomorrow, on Friday, excuse me. This piece of surplus land, which is determined to be surplus, is been put up for sale as surplus. Now, I've checked with the park department, and under state law, when you have surplus city land, it is supposed to go through a review by various agencies who have a chance to determine whether this land would be suitable for park purposes. This review apparently never took place at the park department level, and the real estate people over in park department know nothing about this very nice ocean view lot, about 12,000 square feet, that would make a wonderful ocean view site looking up and down the coast. It's put up for a minimum bid of $14,000. However, it's cost the city over $150,000 to rehabilitate it as a consequence of all the recompacting that had to be done at that site. So if such a piece of wonderful parkland that has park potential is to be sold to private parties, certainly there should be a review first as to whether it can be used as parkland, whether it's feasible, whether it would be satisfactory for that purpose. And secondly, why should a minimum bid of $14,000 be set on a piece of land where public money to the extent of $150,000 has been spent to rehabilitate it? It's in the public domain. It's part of our wonderful ocean view lots, and I would urge, when this matter comes to your attention on Friday,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mann.
that you look at it closely. I can't make it. I'm speaking for myself as a private citizen, but I think this really needs close scrutiny.
Thank you, Mr. Mann.
Should be doing its homework and knowing.
Mr. Mann, I said thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Mann has been coming to the city council chamber for, I don't know, I've been here 32 years, and you've been coming here all those years. You got 3 years on me. God bless you.
You guys going to vote me a pension?
Well,
make a motion, Councilman Misinkowski, that Alec deserves a pension. I've been coming down to this snake pit for.
Yeah, well, your pension is that you're allowed to come and speak at public comment about once every 2 months. Okay, Mrs. Walters. Okay, the public comment period is closed. Mrs. Walters?
I'd just like to say to Mr. Mann that I have checked out his concerns, and the Department of Recreation Parks was not asked, but they have been now, and staff is working on the concerns that you expressed, and I share those concerns.
He met the judge that's on the SID
Yes.
case that the admin's bringing. Oh my God, the guy's out of his mind.
He's nuts. Okay, next item.
Motions for posting and referral.
If there's no objections, unanimous vote.
Excuses on the desk. Councilmember Burnson has requested to be excused city business to leave at 11 a.m. Wednesday, June 24th, meets council policy.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Goldberg has requested to be excused this Friday to leave early at 11:30 city business. A motion is required. That'll leave 10 members.
Okay, Ms. Glanner moves, unanimous vote.
Closed session items 52 and 53.
Okay, all those people not involved with the executive session items, please leave the council chamber. Yeah, we have somebody that wants to be heard on 52, and we'll call just soon. We will. Sergeant, would you just remind the people if they're not involved with the executive session to please leave? But in the meantime, Cheryl Parisi, you want to be heard on item 52? Cheryl, why don't you come up here and speak here? Members of the council, could we have a little order in the council chamber? Hopefully we'll be through by then.
If he gives me his vote, I think we should let him go, and I'll vote for 2. Okay?
Well, Mike has come a long ways. He understands.
He understands. Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Parisi, and I'm here today as a representative for AFSCME Local 3090. We represent the 4,000 clerical workers employed by the City of Los Angeles and who daily provide a high level of service to the citizens and City of Los Angeles. It's ironic that today is National Secretary's Day, and our members are celebrating that day. We therefore ask you, in the spirit of National Secretary's Day, to vote no on the effort to take away the abbreviated work shifts that approximately 250 clerk typists and senior clerk typists employed by the LAPD currently work. This is a practice that has been in place since at least World War II. Basically, the practice is that employees who work the least desirable shifts, known as morning watch and night watch, PM watch and morning watch.
They've cleaned those names up. It used to be the graveyard shift.
These employees start approximately in 3 in the afternoon and work until 11, or start at 11 p.m. at night and work through till 6:30 in the morning. Since at least World War II, these employees have worked respectively shifts of 7.5 or 7 hours. These shifts traditionally have been very hard to fill and usually are worked by employees, at least for the circumstances of the employees that we represent, who are attempting to balance the responsibilities of work and family. And these abbreviated shifts have helped them to support that effort. Moreover, this practice is consistent with the practices in private industry for shift work. Those of you who are familiar with telephone company workers and major union contracts in private industry for shift work traditionally work abbreviated shifts on the swing and graveyard. Again, we want to address the issue of fairness. The clerical union has been in contract negotiations for the past 10 months. To the best of my knowledge, we are the only union in the city that is now being confronted with takeaways at the bargaining table. We are dealing with 2 takeaway issues at the table right now that have prolonged these negotiations, and this issue would represent the 3rd effort to minimize the wages and benefits of workers in this bargaining unit. This proposal was placed on the bargaining table for other more highly paid employees, technical and administrative employees, and supervisory white-collar employees. This proposal was taken off the table, and EAA settled those contracts and have assured that this practice will remain in place until at least July 2001. We want to ask you, in the interest of fairness, not to impose this enormously disruptive change on the clerical unit at the last minute, and allow us to maintain the same working conditions that will be in place for the supervisors and higher paid technical and administrative employees of the LAPD. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Now we'll go into executive session, Okay. Okay, we're back in open session. Madam Clerk, what's before us?
Mr. President, you have a motion before you, moved by Walters, seconded by Fuhrer, that you settle the case for $210,000 as recommended by Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that. Next item.
The desk is clear.
Do we have any adjourning motions? Would everyone please stand? Mr. Alatorre has asked that we... And Mr. Rudy Inokuchi, 91 years old, was a longtime resident of the 14th District. He passed away Monday, and we'd ask that we adjourn in his memory. Ruth?
I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Peter Moore, who was active in the environmental ministries and was the son of Alice Moore in the Department of Personnel. I did that last. Did you? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wax?
Mr. President, I don't have the information with me right now, but I did want the council to adjourn in the memory of Chris Beresford. Christopher Beresford was the headmaster at Harvard Westlake, actually, when it was Harvard, and was really a very, very progressive man, and was the one who began to insist upon and open that Harvard be coeducational and not just for boys. He had a tremendous reputation as a scholar and as an administrator, and really is very responsible for helping to develop a great institution. And he then went on to several other prominent positions, and I'll give the clerk the pertinent information.
Call the roll. Aye, the council is adjourned.